Weddings are one of the most treasured moments in life. A day when two people start a new journey together, surrounded by family and friends. Today, my husband, William, and I were attending his sister Sarah's wedding. I tried to look excited, but honestly, I hadn't been looking forward to this event. Ever since our marriage 3 years ago, my relationship with William's family had been tense, to say the least. His family valued wealth and status, viewing me, a small business owner, as an outsider who didn't belong. Nonetheless, I came to support my husband. As the reception unfolded, everyone around us began receiving elaborate French dishes. Then, when my meal arrived, I froze. In front of me was a kid's meal, complete with a plastic spoon. I stared in disbelief, unable to process why I was being treated differently. My mother-in-law's sly smile told me it was no mistake. Her eyes sparkled with mischief as she asked, "Enjoying the wedding, Olivia?" I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. William noticed the meal in front of me and looked just as puzzled. Before he could ask, his mother leaned in, a smug expression on her face. "A perfect meal for someone like you, wouldn't you say?" She sneered, not even attempting to hide her disdain. I forced a smile, refusing to let her see how much she was getting to me. It was painful to be reminded yet again that I was considered less because of my background. My business may not be a multi-million-dollar empire, but it was something I built from the ground up, with pride and determination. William looked visibly upset, glancing at me apologetically, but I simply nodded to let him know it was okay. I'd learned to handle these small humiliations, though each one cut a bit deeper. I spent the rest of the reception pretending not to care, holding on to my dignity as best I could. As the evening dragged on, memories of my past encounters with his family played in my mind. Ever since William and I got married, Sarah, his sister, had gone out of her way to remind me that I wasn't family in her eyes. Once, when we finally had a day off together, Sarah showed up unexpectedly, suitcases in hand, insisting on staying with us because her wedding venue was nearby. No courtesy call, no prior notice, just a sudden invasion of our only day off. And when she found out that William and I had plans, she had the nerve to ask to join us, saying, "Isn't it obvious I'm coming along?" Her sense of entitlement left me speechless. Despite William's attempts to hint that we wanted time alone, she ignored every word, assuming her plans took precedence. That day set the tone for every interaction that followed. Sarah's disdainful attitude toward me became a constant shadow in our lives, always lurking just out of sight. This pattern continued every time we met with his family. My mother-in-law, Emily, was no different from Sarah, if not worse. For her, it was all about appearances and family legacy. She believed that William, being the son of a wealthy family, deserved a better match, someone with proper credentials and pedigree. To her, I was merely an inconvenient addition to their lives, someone who lacked the sophistication they prized. She constantly reminded William that he'd married down by choosing me. The wealth and status his family flaunted felt hollow, yet they wielded it as if it made them superior. Over time, I'd built a wall around myself, preparing for each encounter as if going into battle. William's quiet support helped, but the sting of their words never fully faded. I wondered if I'd ever find a way to truly stand up to them, to show them that I was more than they assumed. Then, an opportunity came that changed everything. My clothing business was thriving, and I had been offered a collaboration with Morgan, a prominent CEO with a sterling reputation in the industry. It was a major breakthrough, and as luck would have it, Morgan also happened to be a business partner of my father-in-law's company. The timing was perfect, and I poured my energy into making the partnership a success. When the family heard about my connection with Morgan, their surprise was almost comical. Sarah could barely hide her disbelief, and my mother's-in-law seemed lost for words. For once, I felt I had a position of strength. My success was a testament to my hard work, and seeing their reactions was immensely satisfying. Finally, I was more than just William's wife. I was a respected businesswoman in my own right.
Mais je sais que grâce au chat, grâce à vous, il y aura toujours des trucs à dire. J'ai plus le stress de la page blanche, le stress de savoir tiens, qu'est-ce que je vais raconter et tout. Alors des fois, il y a des moments où le chat il est très calme. Mais je peux me permettre même des fois de faire des silences. Genre de rien dire, juste je montre quelque chose, je me tais. Et vous êtes habitués à ça et ça se passe bien. Donc je peux me permettre voilà, de...
But I kept my composure, determined not to give her the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. My mother-in-law chimed in, adding, "William, when are you going to get a real job so you can properly provide for your wife?" William, bless him, spoke up, saying, "Olivia works harder than anyone I know, and she's built a successful business. but his words seemed to fall on deaf ears. Their judgment was so ingrained, their bias so deeply rooted, that nothing could seem to sway their views. Yet, a part of me felt a growing determination to prove them wrong, not through arguments, but through my actions. Weeks passed, and my collaboration with Morgan continued to flourish. One evening, William received a call from his father, who, in an uncharacteristic tone, asked if I could speak to Morgan on his behalf. It seemed there were upcoming changes in the company, and he wanted Morgan's support. William looked at me, clearly torn. After a moment, he turned back to the phone and said, "Olivia doesn't owe you any favors. Maybe it's time you respected her for her hard work." I could feel the tension in the air, the weight of years of resentment finally surfacing. His loyalty and pride in me filled me with gratitude, and I knew that our bond was stronger than any disapproval from his family. For once, they were the ones seeking help, but William's stand made it clear that we no longer needed their validation. At the next family gathering, the shift in dynamics was palpable. William's parents and Sarah seemed subdued, less confident in their usual superiority. They must have sensed that their hold on us was weakening. As we sat down for dinner, my mother-in-law made an awkward attempt at conversation. "So, Olivia, I hear your business is doing well," she said, her tone hesitant. I acknowledged her politely, feeling no need to brag. I could tell they were beginning to realize that I was no longer the insecure outsider they could belittle. My growing success had changed the balance of power, and they could no longer ignore it. In that moment, I felt a sense of closure, knowing I had gained a respect they could no longer deny, even if they refused to openly admit it. Just as I was beginning to feel at peace, news broke that Sarah's marriage was falling apart. Her husband, who she'd once flaunted as a symbol of her perfect life, had left her. It didn't take long before the financial strain became evident. The same family that had once looked down on me for my modest lifestyle was now facing a harsh reality of their own. My mother-in-law reached out, not with a direct apology, but with subtle hints of regret, asking for advice on managing expenses and navigating the difficult period. I kept my responses polite, yet distant, unwilling to allow them back into our lives so easily. I'd moved past their opinions, and seeing their struggles now only confirmed that wealth and status didn't guarantee happiness or stability. Our lives continued to flourish despite the turmoil surrounding William's family. My business was thriving, and William and I were planning to start a family. The future seemed brighter than ever, and for the first time in years, I felt truly happy. It was a stark contrast to the lives of my in-laws, who were now struggling to maintain the facade of wealth they'd once taken for granted. My mother-in-law, who had prided herself on her family's legacy, seemed diminished, her confidence eroded by the challenges they now faced. Watching her navigate her new reality felt surreal, as if the roles had somehow reversed. I was no longer the one being judged. Instead, they were the ones looking to us for guidance. A few months later, my mother-in-law approached me, her tone unusually humble. She asked if I could help them connect with Morgan to secure a stable position for Sarah, who was now facing financial hardship after her marriage failed. This time, I couldn't help but feel a sense of vindication. "I'm sorry, but my relationship with Morgan is strictly professional," I replied, making it clear that I wouldn't risk my reputation for people who had shown me nothing but disrespect. Her face fell, and I could see the realization dawning on her, that she could no longer control me or dismiss me as unimportant. For the first time, she acknowledged that I was someone she could no longer overlook, someone who had proven her worth. Reflecting on everything we'd been through, I felt a profound sense of growth. William and I had come out stronger, our relationship fortified by the challenges we'd faced together. I realized that true success wasn't about proving myself to others, but about staying true to myself and building a life filled with love and respect. As I looked forward to the future, with our first child on the way, I knew that we had built something precious. We had each other, a growing family, and a life free from the weight of others' judgments. My in-laws may never fully accept me, but that no longer mattered. We had forged our own path, one grounded in loyalty, resilience, and a commitment to never let pride or prejudice come between us. And that, I knew, was worth more than any approval they could offer.